everyone. Welcome to Education for Next Generation. Myself, Mrs. Mini Sajay. Today going to tell you about our 10th class topic. That is, we call it as a coordination, the linking system. What do you understand by the coordination? Coordination is like one kind of a cooperation that here we have to link it with our body systems. As we know that all the body parts, all the body organelles, even that organ systems, they are linked one with other, and they are in one coordination, they are working together. Just like, for example, you can take all the organ systems briefly in our body. Just like we have that skeleton system, we have respiratory system, we have circulatory system, we have excretory system, endocrine system, muscular system, reproductive system, all these systems in our body, we can see that they all are linked with one another. So we can call it as coordination, that linking system. Here we can see that skeletal system and muscular system will coordinate together and they will function. Circulatory system will coordinate with this here as respiratory and excretory system too. Endocrine system is also takes the help of circulatory system for the transportation. Reproductive system is that one which is, we can call it as a perpetuation of race, it is required. So here we can see that the bones, they are connected to muscles and together they will function like our each and every movement in our body. Oxygen transportation in the form of oxygen, it is taken up by the blood, circulatory, and that cellular respiration takes place inside each cell. So these two are coordinating in that. Blood is purified in excretory system and urine is formed. So all these systems, we can say here, they are interlinked with one another and they are functioning. So in small organisms like unicellular organisms, we can see that these systems will not be existing and as a separate one. The one single cell only going to perform all the system's activities. But coming to our multicellular organisms, they have developed more as per their body complexity. They have developed the different organ systems in their body, and these systems will be helpful for performing specific functions. So all these functions, they need a coordination with one system that we call it as our nervous system. Nervous system is that one which coordinates with the skeleton, which coordinates with the respiratory, which coordinates with circulatory, coordinates with excretory, endocrine system, muscle, and even reproduction. So all the systems here are linked and controlled by one system which we call it as a nervous system. As we have studied before, and now also we are saying, depending upon the organism complexity, this system functions is, we can see that. In annelids, we can see a fine small nerval ring form structures are seen, and nerves are there which are spread throughout the body. Coming to more higher animals, we can see like vertebrates, we can find a brain like a organelle which is coordinating with all the body parts and controlling all the functions in our body. So we can see that here nervous system is that one which is coordinating for us. So what is that? We can find the two different two different type of system are there in all the living organisms, which can control the body internally, simultaneously, externally also. So we have one more system which we call it as endocrine system. Endocrine system controls that all the body functions internally by releasing that specific hormones in the specific age, and they are controlling internally that many of that our functions in our body. And nervous system, brain, spinal cord and nerves together, they are controlling that all our body functions internally and outside. So they'll take all that stimulus which is there. Stimulus we can say that any change in our environment, environmental parameter, that may be in the form of hot, cold, or any internal pain, pressure, these all are considered as that stimulus. When our body responds to that, so towards that change to the response, which way we will act, that is called as response. So we can see here response to stimuli in nervous system, it is there. So response to stimuli, you can see that almost all the living organisms will show the irritability, and simultaneously they will also show that response to the stimuli. So let us see that some of the activities based on that stimulus. Let us see some activity based on that your response to stimuli. As we have discussed with before, that stimuli is the changes which occur outside the body of an organisms, we call it as stimulus. Stimulus may be external or may be internal also. Now, what are the responses? Response is an act which will be, we are responding to that stimuli, we are reacting. So a response as an act of a change in the environment of an organism or a signal to change to the stimuli, we can say that. So here we can do a simple activity which we can say that is holding a falling stick. So due to the holding a falling stick, with that, as we are using a small piece of this wooden block or a duster which is there in the class which is available, so holding it from a somewhat height, I am not using a scale, just demonstrating with this. So if I need to catch it, then my other functions should be very quick and fast. Then it is possible for me to hold this and catch this one. So as I drop it from here, I need to immediately my muscles has to work. So there is the trigger in the response. So stimulus is this, and as I drop, immediately my muscles have to coordinate very fast to hold this one. So as if we drop it, I have holded this. If I will delay that, my responses will be delayed, then we can see that it will fall down that. So this is the one which we can communicate through that, how that responses will be very fast, and in responses when it generate, especially some muscular activities, some muscle cells will be trigger up very fast and they will be controlling this one to hold this one. So such this holding a falling stick, or we can use a long scale for that, and we can see that how much fast. So for this we needed two children in the class to do this activity. One has to drop that stick, other one has to hold it very fast. So they are both of them, and their skills are required for that. For this, showing those skills, their muscle cells and as well as their skeletal system, muscular system and nervous system. Three of the systems will coordinate and function very fast. Then only they can hold that. Otherwise it will drop. So this activity will show us that how that stimulus and response will generated in the body. As we know that all living organisms, they will respond to the stimuli. So here we can see that by this activity, in that any stick which we have holded it, if we drop it towards downwards, and if we need to catch it, we'll be very careful to catch that. If you are holding is this from here, so the other person is, when you leave it that, so you can see that the other person who has to catch this one. So If you need to catch, you be very quick and you should respond to that. So this is the one activity which shows us about that response to that stimuli. Let us see that the structure of nerve cell. Nerve cell is also called as neurons, and each nerve cell contains long structures which we call it as a hollow structures form. It's a long, one of that part of the neuron cell is extend long and connect itself to that other muscles or other cells or other organs or other neurons. This one is, we'll call it as an axon. So we can take a permanent slide from our lab and we can observe these parts of the nerve cells. We can see in lungs nerve cell which is different from that other cell structures or other cells in our body. In that, here we can see each nerve cell contains that flat structure which we call it as a cytone or cell body. This part is called as cell body. Cell body, in that all that sides you can find a fine root like structures, short, which are n number of branches form it as divides. These are called as dendrites. Now here in middle you can find it nucleus, and these the small granules which are present in this, these are called as Nissl granule. And the extent, one of that part which is extending downwards, that middle part is called as axon. Axons are both sides covered with the spirally, they are covered with the sheath which we call it as myelin sheath. Myelin sheath, in that some special cells are present here in that which we call it as Schwann cells. Myelin sheaths, in that fats deposition is there and it is separating that other axons of other neuron cell, and it is a one of a protective layer of the axon. So myelinated one where it is there, myelinated axons, this sheath is preventing the loss of impulses to the outside. So myelinated neurons, very fast responses are generated. So in our nerve cells we have myelinated and non-myelinated, that is axons in that outer sheaths are present on that. That ending of these axons is connected to the muscles or other axon, and this is called as nerve terminal. This is the entire part of that one of that neuron. Cell body, Nissl granules, nucleus, dendrites, axon, which is the middle, this hollow one part is there, this is that axon, and axons surrounded by that sheath of fat depositions is there in that myelinated sheath, and this is called as myelinated neuron. Non-myelinated neurons are also present in our brain cells. So here we can, in the brain, you can say that these all cells, these are the brain cells, or you can say the nervous system cells, which we call them as neuron. Here we can see in our entire, in the nervous system, we have nearly 10 billions of neurons are present. And these 10 billions of neurons are present in our head and spinal cord, and nearby spinal cord, the dorsal and ventral ganglion also we can find it. After that, we can see the nerves are spread in the body. Now let us see a closer look for the neuron cells. Here we can see that the branches which is come out through the cell body or cytone, that are called as dendrites, and these dendrites are either connected to the another neuron neurons, that terminal end, or else they are connected to another neurons dendrites or any cellular organelles they can connect it. So they'll carry the messages in neuron passes from dendrite to cell body and cell body to axon and axon to another neuron. Both the neurons are not directly connected with each other. There is a small gap between them. Cell body, which is there, cell body contains the Nissl granules in this, and this is the nucleus, and we can see here that each axon is, both sides are fat depositions are present in that, which we call it as this one as myelinated sheaths, and we can see these are small cells which are Schwann cells. These are called as Schwann cells, and the gap between this non-deposited part of this one is called as nodes of Ranvier. Nodes of Ranvier is present in between that myelinated sheath, between the myelinated sheath in axon. Here we can find it a small gap, whereas depositions are not there. Such places are called as your nodes of Ranvier. Now here myelinated, it is a myelinated neuron, and middle you can see the axon is present. So the message comes from the another neuron to this dendrites through it comes to cell body, then it goes to axon and axon to terminal ending, and terminal ending we can find that a small ending is like a small button form. Now these endings will either connect to the another neurons, that is we call it as the another neuron, they are connected, but there is a small gap between both the neurons connection, and this is called as synapse. Here you can see that across this both of these cell membrane, that here we can call it as a synaptomic vessels are there, which are the transporters are present here, autoreceptors are there, and the transmitter molecules are present in that. So as calcium ions enter